So welcome to another weekly Forex forecast. We start on the DXY on the weekly time frame. We were looking last week already for price to start stalling in this area. We are heading into the US election next week. We are also approaching some areas of interest and some higher time frame value areas. So we need very clear price action confirmation before we can do anything. And with election coming in, we might see some more intraday volatility, but in the bigger picture, as long as we're moving down here to the daily time frame, as long as we are above this liquidity point here, my overall bias remains bullish on the US dollar. So preferably going down to the 4-hour, preferably we get some volatility in this area the next 1 to 2 weeks and see price stall a bit more and give us some form of a bull flag continuation into this liquidity area here, which then would be enough volume accumulation for the next leg up. Moving to Euro US dollar, starting here on the daily as well. We can see that we had some small change in momentum into some areas of interest here and had a very strong sell-off by the end of the week. So overall, we are still in bearish territory, which would align with the DXY bullish, and it also seems that we are here in an area of volume accumulation for the next leg down. I'm going down here straight to the 1-hour time frame. We can see that we were initially looking for price to respect some form of structure here. It looked initially as price would respect a bear flag continuation in this area, but did not follow through in this area. Instead, it was forming some more ascending structures into the next higher areas of interest to accumulate more volume before then selling off. So what I'm looking for right now would be early next week. There might be an intraday trade, maybe even on Monday, because I go down here to the 15 minutes because we were tapping into a smaller area of interest here. We have this ascending structure here. Price is now below this structure, left a small liquidity point. So if I get a deliberate 1, 2, 3 structure on the lower time frame, 15 or 1 hour, which allows me to enter here for a short, of course I would play this range. That would even be before Tuesday, before election day, and would still be enough room to manage a trade just to the low of the structure here. I would not be surprised if the whole thing will take a bit more time and we get maybe some form of a bigger structure here over the next 10 to 15 days. So Euro Australian dollar on the daily time frame. We were still in this bullish momentum run the previous week, and then again, like in a lot of the other pairs, we are stalling. We are accumulating volume for the next leg up. However, we see here the next higher area of interest is here, and we also have a small gap to the low. So it could go either way, but for price to turn around here in no man's land is, of course, it's always possible, but my bias is still long on Euro Australian dollar. So therefore, I'm looking on the lower time frame for price to finish a bigger structure. So we would have here a 1, a 2, a potential 3 into this space here. We have here a liquidity point in this area, which then would be enough volume for the next leg up. So if I get the deliberate 1, 2, 3 into this liquidity point, I'm more than happy to take along. However, if price starts to break impulsively to the downside and then retesting this area here, then of course I would change my bias. But as long as we are trading above this point, I'm long, and if we see some bearish price action, I'm open to change my bias. The size of the structure is already a 4-hour structure, so I'm not looking for lower time frame entries in this case. So preferably a 4-hour retrace in this area would be okay to enter along. Euro Canadian dollar looks very, very similar. This is the pair I'm just running behind and changing my bias constantly all the time. We had a more detailed discussion last week on this pair already. We see that we are still in an area where both is possible, right? So we have this ascending, is slightly expanding structure here into this previous high from the bull flag continuation. Price then is now in an area where the long is still in play, but also a potential for a short. So going down to the 1 hour time frame, we see that we clearly tapped into this high here to the left, but we also left some areas of interest. So yeah, this is a liquidity area here, and there is a potential, as long as we trade above this area, that we will form a bigger bull flag continuation, which then would allow a long trade in this area. However, if price then again fails to form a bull flag continuation and breaks impulsively below this whole area, and then giving us a bear flag continuation, I'm open to change my bias. But as it stands at the moment, I'm leaning more to the long side. New Zealand dollar, US dollar. We discussed this as well a bit in more detail last week, because it is really respecting structure on the 1 hour time frame very, very good. It's similar to the other US dollar pair. So it's clearly accumulating some volume, could go both directions. The structure in my eyes is not yet finished for the bigger time frame short. I would prefer for price to go back and retest this area of interest here, then again, which would then allow, based on the size of the structure, a 4 hour entry or a lower time frame continuation pattern. At the moment, preferably, it would be nice to see for price to come back up one more time and then form a deliberate 1, 2, 3 into this area. However, if we see some momentum on Monday morning, like similar to Euro US dollar on the lower time frame, we do have a potential for a lower time frame play. Very, very similar, even just to the low of the structure, it's enough to manage the trade if we get a deliberate 1, 2, 3 here on the 15-minute or 1 hour time frame for a short-term trade. And if it then really drops out into Tuesday after election or whatever, we are already in the trade and we are well positioned. Otherwise, we will end up in a break even if we get a fair entry in this area. Then Euro New Zealand dollar, similar to the other euro pairs, on the higher time frame, I'm still looking for price to finish the last leg up. We did have this first initial impulsive move, then here the correction, and we are now in the second impulsive leg. So we had only 1 day, actually 2 days stalling, which then could be just another 1 or 2 days volume accumulation to then finish the last leg up. We still have some room to go, even when we just check based on the proportions from here to here and then adding that outside the structure here, we would end up somewhere in this area and at least take out this high to the left. So going down to the 1 hour, what do I need to enter along? I do need to see price finishing a proper deliberate structure, preferably again a 1, 2, 3. We have a base here, 3 into this space, and then entering along in this area. And exactly the same like with the other pairs, if we get a change in momentum and impulsive break, even preferably below here, and then get some form of bear flag continuation in this area, okay, I will change my bias in that case. But at the moment, preferably still looking for a long. Swiss francs yen, also on the daily time frame, we are losing some momentum at the moment, but that can also be, it looks more like volume accumulation like in all the other pairs. It's a bit undecided. I'm still more leaning to a long for price going back one more time to the highs and tapping into this previous value area here. So at the moment, it did not tap into this first small bear flag continuation here. So we are just above the second small continuation pattern. So we are in between. So as long as we are in between, see it clearer on the 1 hour time frame, and price is forming a bull flag continuation, I'm more on the bullish side. We have a clear liquidity area here, which would be nice for price to retest and form some form of a bigger structure that we then can enter along in this area. US dollar Canadian dollar is now the time for me to change the bias. So the last 2 weeks I took 2 trades, 1 trade a week for a long play, looking for price to finish the last leg into, we're going here to the daily time frame, into this higher time frame value area. We had this ascending wedge and we were looking for longs since this area here to finish the last leg. We are now approaching this area of interest and now I'm changing my bias. For the last 10 days actually, or the last week basically, we see that price is kind of losing momentum and is correctively approaching this area. So there is no clear momentum play anymore, at least very clearly visible on the lower time frame. So I'm not surprised if price would then just slowly tickle up into this value area before we then see some change in momentum. So I'm not interested in a long at the moment anymore. So I'm waiting for price to tap into this higher time frame value area and then gaining some form of reaction and preferably impulsive reaction to the downside, and then getting entering the first bear flag continuation for short and changing momentum. Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar is the last play. We also discussed this in the trade review. There was a mistrade on the higher time frame. We are still kind of in the middle. We were tapping into this smaller high to the left. We still have some room to the upside. It would also be okay for price to sell off because we were tapping into an area of interest, the higher time frame. Keep in mind we are here on the daily time frame. So going down to the 4 hour first, I was looking here for a 2-touch continuation, 4 hour entry, which we got here, which it's discussed in the trade review video. And at the moment, price did not really follow through. We did not gain momentum, even though we had this very strong start of the run, right? So we had a rejection of this liquidity point here after price breaking out, and then this almost full body bullish engulfing candle, but then no follow through in this area. So that shows that price is also slightly undecided. So I boxed it up. And as long as price remains above this high, I'm leaning more to the bullish side. So if price is forming kind of a double bottom and giving me a clear rejection here and the lower time frame continuation, I'm still on the long side. As well as if price is breaking out, making a new high, and then is giving me here a continuation pattern, I'm on the long side. So this is my preferred direction. However, if I see early next week that price is starting to gain bearish momentum and making a new low and then giving me some form of a bear flag continuation below this low outside the whole structure, I will change my bias and will change to short. Yes, that's it for the week. That's my watch list for next week. Thanks for watching and see you next week. Bye bye.